Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of the 5-day Making Art, Making Money workshop. Just give me a second while I set up some settings. In the meantime, please go ahead and find the chat and ask us anything about selling your art. Or if you have questions about some of the things that we've covered a lot. Go ahead and ask. Now's the time during the pre-show. I've got some time and space to answer questions, offer encouragement, whatever it is you need. So, hey, Jenna is here, everybody. And so I'm gonna move on over here to let Jenna in. Good for you, early birds, by the way. Yvette, Allison, good job. All right. Just move on over here. Co-host, boop, and co-host. How do you feel right now? What a great question from Jenna. How do you feel? Feeling more confident? Feeling a little bit more hopeful? You feeling, hey, after listening to Jenna and listening to Travis, maybe this is not so crazy. It's possible.
Or feeling confused, is it okay? New information always makes you feel a little confused.
Right, confused. That's cool too. How does that feel? Like, so Jenna, let's start on that topic. So you've been in the Facebook group, you've been chatting with people, and she's been helping other fine artists for a minute now. So what do you feel, what's coming through like with this group? Like what are people confused about?
People actually, I noticed a few comments. I wrote it down. Um,
That. See,
uh,
Jenna's paying attention, everybody.
Alexandra asked that I live in a place people don't value art, and
Uh-huh.
wanna I don't want to sell online. That was her, I guess, the
Okay. So I can't do this because if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you can't. Coupled with, and I don't want to do anything about it. Wow, that sounds like a really shitty situation. So let's just call it what it is, right? So what do you have to what do you have to say about that, Jenna?
I have to say, first of all, that's how I felt actually when I began. I didn't know that at the time that was a part of limiting beliefs. I didn't know that. But now,
Yes. Day 2, limiting beliefs.
yes,
Yes.
now I do. So when you think of I live in a place people don't value art, I would first of all do actual work to do research and see if that's true. And if that's true, then yes, online is an option. But if you could keep thinking, I don't want to sell online, that's also a limiting belief. Like
Yes.
if you keep saying I don't want to, you really don't want to do it.
Yeah, then you don't want to do it. But so yeah, so you can take that basically, can I just tell everybody what I look for during an application interview? And I'm sure Jenna looks for the same thing. Attitude is the best indicator of someone's success. Period. End of sentence. It's not their network, it's not where they live, it's not the quality of their art. It's none of that. It's none of that because I started at 0, Jenna started at 0. So what is it that moved things? It was attitude. Now, let me be really clear. It's not that at times we don't have a shit attitude. That's why we have the exercise on day 2, which is when inevitable limiting beliefs start crowding your thinking and preventing you from taking constructive action, that's when you have to be aware enough to disassemble those limiting beliefs. That's why it's baked into day 2 of this 5-day workshop, because we're human and we get fearful and we get insecure. And especially if we're being rejected unnecessarily, we're going to get more insecure, less confident. But I mean, it's kind of absurd if given the fact that people are selling art all day long online. Why would you not want to do that?
I'm assuming I think what from my experience I can tell maybe I it's just my assumption, Alexandra, if I'm wrong you can let me know in the
Yeah,
group.
let her know.
But we're fine. But what I'm suspecting is that maybe because you don't know your niche,
Yes.
you feel like maybe I have to be certain personality on social media, or I have to do like TikTok dance all the time to get
Cat
enough.
videos.
Maybe a lot of people told you that, hey, yeah, you have to have this and that to sell online. Maybe that kind of made you feel a little scared. But
Yes.
once you know your niche, like the rest of the marketing, whatever people say, that part is really, it comes very naturally.
Yeah, very naturally, very authentically. And you don't need and I don't advise that you spend a bunch of money on a complicated e-commerce site. You're probably not going to get any traffic to it anyway, unless you know your niche. It's not going to work, period. End of sentence. You can go get an Instagram shop for free and start there. And it's not that complicated. They want you to be able to use it. So they make the directions really clear on how to use it. So that's what I would start with. But your attitude is going to determine whether or not you take the next step. And so this is the key to this is I always use this analogy of, you want to make a beautiful cake and put the cherry on top. We all do, and have a slice. But you have to preheat the oven and mix the batter and not worry about putting the cherry on top before you preheat the oven and mix the batter.
You have
So
to
a
learn.
lot of artists have a tendency to like, oh, we're going to put the cherry on top. Like, yeah, we all do. Still need to go through the steps, follow the recipe, follow the 5 days. The 5 days are laid out in a very deliberate fashion. So trust the process here. It absolutely works. There's people who've sold art just during this 5-day workshop all the time. All right.
So,
What else did you notice, Jenna, in the
um,
comments?
also, a lot of people were curious about how they can price art. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even know, like, or they know they're aware of the fact that they're like underpricing their art, but they just don't know what to do about it.
Right. They don't know what to do about it. It's a pretty simple formula. So, first of all, what you have to understand is that price is perception, right? Price is perception. So that means that if you sell something cheap, then the perception is that, oh, this is cheap. It's not very, very valuable. That's number one when it comes to price. Number two, you are not your customer. So what you would pay for a piece of art is very different than what an affluent collector would pay. I would never buy my art. It's too expensive and I can make my own. Why would I do that? Right? I just wouldn't. Because I'm not my customer. So that's the second tenet, right? Understanding that price is perception and you are not your customer. The third thing is that price is made up, just like your art. You get to make it up. You get to decide what it is. But then you have to stand your ground and be really confident. Don't explain what your price is. For the love of God, don't price per inch. You're not selling carpet or tile. What you really need to look at is how much time it takes to create your average piece of art, and then compensate yourself accordingly and account for all of your expenses and your overhead. And then, I don't know, triple it then, or multiply it by 6. But if you're not selling for a profit, don't sell at all. Don't sell at all. Don't ever pay yourself minimum wage. You're not going to be inspired to do it otherwise. So those are my comments on pricing. You're all looking for like a secret formula. Well, there isn't one. It's like asking me for the secret formula for making art. Make it up. Just make sure that you're making a profit, and then stand your ground and don't hide your damn prices. A lot of people will put their art out there without any online mechanism for people to buy it. So it's not going to buy it because people think you're just showing it. You can say DM me, but honestly, why? When you can just have someone check out. You know, you're not going to hide the price for them. You're going to have to tell them the price eventually. But if you're not putting the price there or a payment link, then people are just going to assume you're showing your art. And we're not about showing art. We're about selling art. So that's my little rant on pricing. Do you have anything to add, Jenna?
Yeah, it's just I think it all boils down to not knowing your niche. If you don't know your niche, you don't feel confidence and you don't know what you're selling, why you're selling. So that question goes to why would anyone buy my art for this price? Even though it's like then you would not even have a confidence to sell it for $50. It's like
Right,
why would
exactly.
anyone buy? Yeah.
So, and every business has to know their niche. We're going to cover the 4-part code on how famous artists and artists like you determined their niche, but you are not going to figure it out today. It's a process. It takes a minute to do it. It takes at least a year, most of the time, to determine your niche. But let me ask Jenna, did you determine your niche like that?
I mean, thanks to Making Art Making Money program, like in the program, the process became a lot more effective and efficient. So, but after I discovered my niche in the program, I had to go through this process where I experiment and then see like which one works the most effectively to people and then where those people are like it's a whole journey. I still do that to this day like to
Yeah, you don't stop.
evolve and to get even clearer on my niche. But even though I know my niche now, I still do the experiment and I still evolve, so it's like the whole journey.
Well, it's like any business, right? You're constantly evolving their product or evolving their series. What I'd like to do, Jenna, is when it comes to the part in the slides where we're talking about your 4-part code, I'd love for you to just come on and explain it versus me trying to explain it. Are you cool with that? Would you be willing to do
Sure.
that?
Yep.
Then you can hear it, which you guys, I think you're going to find really powerful. This is a really powerful lesson today. And it's really important that you pay attention because most of you are going about this as if you're selling goods or services. And you can't possibly determine your niche if that's what you think your product is. Your product is emotion. We're going to demonstrate that very clearly today. And I can't emphasize enough, you are not going to determine your niche in a week-long workshop. Today is just about showing you the proven process that I developed called the 4-part code. It came as a result of studying luxury marketing and sales and art history. I was a serious art history student. And the only reason I was a serious art history student, to be honest, is because I wanted to figure out, well, why is one artist famous and another not? And none of the art historians or my art professor, scholar, Francis Taft. Dr. Francis Taft couldn't explain it to me. So I finally figured it out my own damn self. And that's what I'm here to tell you today, how artists actually determine their niche. So, I highly recommend that every single one of you, again, take notes. Don't think for a minute you're going to reverse engineer this on your own. You're not. And if you think that you can, you'll actually delay your progress. You'll actually undermine your progress. So just sit tight, listen to what I have to say. I think it's going to be incredibly eye-opening. I can't tell you how many curators at art museums are fascinated by what I'm about to teach you. Okay? Because I always interrupt them during tours and they're like, what? What is that? All right, everyone. Thank you very much, Jenna.
If
And
if
so,
any one of you did not send me a message yet on my Facebook, please do it. If you want to hear my story of like
yes, I
discovering my niche.
would you put in the chat a link so people can do that?
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All righty. Okay. So give me 1 second while I pull up the slides for today. All right, I'm going to share my screen with you. All right, everyone. So welcome back to the Making Art, Making Money School of Business 5-day live workshop. We're on day 4. Day 1, we covered the 50 common mistakes, confidence crushing, soul sucking, time consuming, expensive mistakes that most fine artists are making and don't even know they're making. These are all expenses. Everything that we covered on day 1 are unnecessary expenses of time and money. And remember, in order to generate a profit and be a legit business, you have to reduce your expenses. Again, it's not just money, it's time. So I just saved you all a shit ton of time and money and heartache if you really listen closely. If you want a complete list of these 50 mistakes, send a message to Jenna and she'll send you a PDF so that you have it. So then we had the limiting beliefs. So as a result of going through those 50 things that don't work and never will, and that I had to cope with myself, it's natural that a lot of limiting beliefs occur, just like the one that Jenna just discussed during the pre-show. So we have to disassemble these limiting beliefs because your life is a story you're telling yourself about yourself. And if you don't like how your life is going, it's time to deliberately rewrite the story. And you can absolutely do this. Then you learned yesterday about a phenomenal proven strategy, and it's a foundation of all luxury marketing and sales. You learned that how real relationships equal revenue. You learned about the exponential power of referral sales, where you never have to sell yourself again, where you can reach collectors who are 82% more likely to buy from you and spend more money. And today we're going to talk about my 4-part code, which is a proprietary process that I developed, which explains why artists who are living and dead determine their niche. So be sure that you complete today's homework and share it in our private Facebook group. And if you do that, you could win a private coaching session with Jenna. So do yourself a big fat favor, shut that phone off because you don't want it to steal 23 minutes of your full attention today. So what are we requiring of you? Again, this live workshop is offered at no cost as part of a goodwill marketing effort, which helps me identify prospective students. That's what I'm up to. And the class, live class, homework, and replays are available to you all this week at no cost. After this week, it's all coming down and it's going to cost $1,000 if you want access to it. So please know that my students, Jenna and Travis, are volunteering because they benefited from my mission and they like to help people. So be kind and respectful and professional and thank them because they don't have to do this. All we're asking from you guys is for you to fully participate, contribute in a constructive, respectful, and positive manner, and show up for yourself. You signed up for this because you knew you could get something out of it. So take it to the finish line and show up, pay attention, and do the homework. And you're going to change as a result. I'm going to give you a warning. If you choose to be unprofessional, we're going to remove you without any notice and you will be banned permanently. So here's my promise to you today. Okay. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to show you 4 proven steps that successful fine artists use to find their niche. Okay. Now remember, what is your niche? It's not about you. It's not about your art. What your niche is knowing, not guessing. I can't warn you enough because some of you are going to go ahead and ignore me and guess what your niche is. Very hazardous. Very, very hazardous. Your niche means you know who wants to buy your art, you know why they want to buy it, and where and how to find more people just like them. That's what it means to know your niche. And unless you know your niche, you're going out of business. Not saying that to scare you, saying that to warn you. You already know that deep in your bones. So Why do you need to know your niche? So you can make a better living as a fine artist. That's it. So that you can start saving money and time. You can start increasing your art sales. You can start making more money. You can start increasing your prices. And you can do all this with so much more dignity. So are you ready? Type in the chat or in the comment section in Facebook, I am ready. So let me ask you, does any part of what I'm about to say ring true for you? Sometimes it seems like no matter how hard I try, I'm just not reaching my full potential or living up to my expectations. This is a pretty this is a pretty disappointing place to be in life. But if this is where you are as a fine artist, the best thing you can do right now is admit it. Type into the chat and admit it, because then you can do something about it, right? If you don't recognize there's a problem, you can't do much about it. So the truth will set you free. Maybe it's this: I'm so disappointed in my representatives because they're not selling enough of my art and I'm not making enough money. Is this you? Is this where you're at? If it is, admit it. It's okay. I felt this way. Shouldn't have felt this way. What was the beautiful thing that came out of it? Created the Making Art, Making Money School of Business. I'm so tired of explaining myself as an artist at family gatherings. This one's hard, right? Thanksgiving, your successful attorney cousin talks about the new house they're building and then asks you, how's that fine art of yours coming along? You were always the artsy fartsy one, right? It's really cringy. But I'll tell you, you start saying, oh, it's great. Had my best year ever. Sold more art this year than ever before. Their attitude changes quickly. All of a sudden, they're proud of you. All of a sudden, they admire you for taking a risk of being an artist. I'm so frustrated that I've invested so much time, effort, dedication, and creativity into my work, yet it's isn't bringing me the financial success I believe I deserve. You feel like this? Admit it. I face so much rejection. It's just so discouraging. Feel like this? Ongoing rejection is crushing my confidence and eroding my belief that I'll ever reach the success I've longed for so long. This is a crappy place to be, right? Got a typo here. Lots of typos. What if this class is just another damn sales pitch and I don't get anything valuable? I had so many negative experiences in the past. Okay. You might feel skeptical even still. That's all right. I know where my integrity is. Jenna knows where her integrity is. But I understand if you've been disappointed a lot, and a lot of people do scam artists, that you might be skeptical. Just don't allow yourself to become cynical. Or maybe you feel, I can't afford to waste even more time. I'm not getting any younger. This is true. You don't have forever to figure this out. So are you ready to make a positive change? Type in the chat, I'm ready. I'm going to give you a warning. What's at stake for you if you don't learn how to effectively market and sell your art? I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this to warn you, because then you can do something about it. If you're not producing a consistent profit from the sale of your art, but you're claiming income tax deductions, the taxing authority could classify everything as a hobby. If this happens, you're going to lose your income tax deductions, and then it's just going to be impossible for you to actually make a living as a fine artist if you can't get those deductions. So don't let it happen. And don't sell your art unless it's for a profit. If you're nerve wracked about this very real threat and fact, do something. And all you need to do is reach out to your tax advisor and ask them where you stand. Okay. Just ask them where you stand immediately if you don't already know. If you already know, great. So I can't emphasize this enough. If you lose this opportunity to make a good living as a fine artist, how are you going to feel? What's at stake for you? Face it now so we can start dealing with it. Type your answer into the chat. So imagine this. What if you know your niche like Jenna knows? She explained we're going to talk about hers today. And that means she knows who wants to buy her art. She knows why they want to buy it, and she knows where and how to find more people just like them. So when you know your niche, not only do you know your collectors, they know, love, and support you in ways that you never dreamed possible. If you listened to the pre-show with Travis yesterday, this is exactly what he was talking about. He never dreamed it was even possible to have a group of collectors who absolutely want to see him succeed and enjoy the privilege of helping him. He actually used those words. Listen to the pre show. This could be you. And I'll ask Jenna to share about this. Imagine you're not trying to sell your fine art to everyone because you know that's not possible. You're focused on your specific audience who truly values and appreciates your work. And you would never dream of trying to sell yourself because now you know your niche. And because you're serving a mission that's greater than yourself and you're making a positive impact and adding clear value above and beyond your art so you can charge more money and you never have to compete with another artist because they don't offer what you can. Huge, huge game changing difference. And although, yes, you spent years of dedication and developing your art and you struggled and you had a lot of rejection, now that you know what you know, it's finally paying off and it was worth it. Imagine. So type in the chat, what would it feel like if you knew your niche? What would that feel like for you? This is important that you identify 2 emotions that you will feel once you know your niche, because it's going to tie into the exercise we do tomorrow, which is essential. The exercise I'm going to teach you tomorrow is exactly where I started to become a full-time artist. So the first step is right now. 2 emotions you will feel once you know your niche. So again, if you weren't here before, my name is Ann Ray. I'm a fine artist just like you, and I've been an advocate and a mentor to thousands of other fine artists, photographers, craftsmen from 23 countries and counting since 2005. This scarcity and permission-based art establishment is preventing you from making a better or any kind of living as a fine artist. So I'm on a mission to help other fine artists like you just take your power back. And today's the day that you start taking your power back by making a better living as a fine artist. You don't have to feel pushy, ever. You don't have to pay sales commissions, ever. Referral fees, ever. You don't need an expensive e-commerce site, ever. You don't ever need it. If you want to have one, that's fine. You don't actually need it. And you never have to write a cringy, self-involved artist statement again. So in January 2005, as I explained, I moved to San Francisco to become a full-time artist, and I was determined to sell over $100,000 of my fine art. My first step was firing my representation. And I'll tell you what I'm about to teach you with the 4-part code would never be possible if I still had representation in my way. So despite having no contacts, no family support, no trust fund, no big savings account, I sold $103,246 of my art. Then the recession hit a few years later. My art sales stalled, but as I explained, I learned a ton about my own psychology from Bob Proctor, who hosted the movie The Secret. And I witnessed what he taught and the power of it at his home while he was on the phone with Ellen DeGeneres. It was a privilege for me to witness this. Really a pivotal point in history in media. And I saw what was possible. But the real secret was I only got part of the formula. Success is 80% psychology, but it's also 20% strategy, and you have to have both. So Bob helped me with the psychology, but I still needed the strategy. And that's what I'm going to give you today. Strategy. You need both. And I searched old art history books of mine looking for a strategy. But every successful fine artist who determined their niche knew 4 clear elements. That's what I learned by studying luxury marketing and art history. So again, understand, knowing your niche means that you know, cannot guess. If you guess, you're screwed. You have to know. You have to know who wants to buy your art. You have to know why they want to buy it, where to find more people just like them, and how to find them in order to stay in business. So you don't have to figure this out right this second, and you're not going to. All you need to do right now is stay really present and take a bunch of notes and ask questions as you have them, as they arise. Let's deal with them. So, after becoming a student of luxury marketing and sales, I actually joined the Luxury Marketing Council. I had to be admitted into it. And really took it seriously. And I started generating 80% more sales on average. And I kept all my money. Hey, no representatives, got a dime. And I only focused on one luxury marketing strategy, which I taught you yesterday. Right. And I increased my average sales price 400%. Most of my students increased their prices 300% within the first 6 months. Okay. And I did it really pretty quickly. And I never felt pushy, and I never paid anybody anything, and I never wrote a cringy artist statement. So I'm curious, can any of you identify with my journey? Do you think you have like the psychology piece in place or not in place? Do you think you don't have the strategy? Do have the strategy? Where are you at? Type your answer into the chat or in the comments in Facebook. So again, you're going to need to take 5 shifts in perspective to get to where you want to go. And shift number 1, like it was in the previous days, is taking a moral stand. You got to do you. Be your authentic self. Your power comes from your authentic self, not being someone you're not. Being jealous of other artists, it's ignorance, pure ignorance. And imitating other artists is just suicide. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. In order to be oneself, one has to take risks and to accept that one is actually not perfect, is what this is supposed to say, and to be courageous enough to say what one really thinks. That's your job as a fine artist, to say what you really think. And we're living in a land of censorship right now. So you're going to have to be even more courageous. When you compare yourself to other artists, you disempower yourself. When you're authentic, it invites other people to be themselves. And what's better than that? Speak your truth through your art. That's what you have to do. And some people are going to love you just for who you are. Most people are going to love you for what you can do for them. And some people won't like you at all, ever. Just the way it is. Doesn't matter. So are you ready to be your true self? We're going to dive into what that really means in a minute. Type your answer into the Zoom chat or into the Facebook group. So the second shift in your behavior is you got to change your behavior. You have to know your product. You are not selling goods or services. And if you take the approach of selling goods or services, you're going to fail. Your product is emotion. If you feel it, it's art. If you don't feel it, it's not art. It's just that simple. Art is in the eye of the beholder. Having a debate about it with an art critic is just a silly waste of time. I mean, it's like arguing with someone about how they feel. You feel how you feel. No one can tell you how to feel, not even an art critic. Conventional marketing will not serve you. So if you've studied conventional marketing, great. You can use elements of it, but you're missing a big piece, which we're going to teach you today. So I just want you to know I've had many successful entrepreneurs who were also artists come through my program. When they started, they just didn't know their product, including MBAs. But they were struggling because they didn't know their product. You're going to know your product at the end of this. And I even had 2 Harvard graduates come through the program, Harvard Business School, didn't know their product. So it is absolutely essential that you know your product. Now, the second shift is you got to use the secret strategy. And I'm going to teach you that, the proven 4-part code. You're not going to be able to apply it, but you're going to understand it today. So let's look at John Singer Sargent. John Singer Sargent was a portrait painter who painted these beautiful grand portraits. So let's look at his 4-part code. So we have to look at who he was as a person, not an artist, and what his purpose was, his why. So John Singer Sargent's purpose, or why, was born from his human experience as an American expatriate living in England with not enough money and very little social standing. And he needed to make some money so that he could pay for medical bills for his family. So it became very important to him to start networking and be accepted among the aristocracy and the affluent merchants. And that was his purpose. So he was expert at luxury marketing. So what was his mission? So here's the thing. Remember what I just said. So what was his mission? His mission was to elevate his status, or elevate one's status amongst the aristocracy. So the why, the purpose, is basically, or excuse me, your mission or your what, your purpose is basically your why. So how did he do this? Well, he deployed certain luxury marketing tactics. He only ever did 12 grand portraits a year. So these people, the aristocrats they were vying for the opportunity to be one of the 12, right? It's called exclusivity and scarcity. And so he was a millionaire during the 1800s. Now, he also did these rough sketches that were just like Conte pencil, but he only did 12 grand portraits. And so who is his niche? Well, it was the people who wanted to solidify their social standing, the aristocracy or wealthy American merchants. And obviously he did very well with this very simple, authentic formula. Okay, so let's take another example. Andy Warhol. So who is he as a person? What was his purpose? Well, he was a first generation American, came from a working class family. His parents didn't speak English. They came from an Eastern European country that doesn't even exist anymore. He grew up in Pittsburgh. He was a very sickly child. He wasn't very popular. He felt like a goof. And his family couldn't afford American products, right? So he'd lie in bed looking through celebrity magazines. What was he looking at that whole time? Celebrities and the American culture of consumerism, which he had a very unique lens on, a very sharp lens on as a first generation American. I'm a first generation American myself, so we can see the American culture more clearly. And so what was his mission? To celebrate the American culture of consumerism and consumption of celebrity. How did he do this? Well, he was a master of PR and marketing. He started Interview Magazine, a celebrity magazine, which is still in print today. And he also he would show up at Studio 54 and he would have happenings at his studio, The Factory, where people would come to see and be seen. So, who was his niche? People who wanted to see and be seen, by and large, and who also celebrated the values of the consumption of celebrity, of American news, and American products. So, he reflected back our culture as a first generation American. So, let's look at some artists like you who cracked their 4-part code. When Kate Bradley came to the program, she was really overwhelmed, seriously shy when she started. So, what was her why? Well, let's look at who she was as a person, or is. So, she is a devoted Christian. She walks her talk. She volunteered at a homeless shelter, mentoring homeless teenage children for 4 years. And she got really good at listening. And she realized their pain, that these children were cast aside because they weren't living up to society's expectations. Well, they couldn't. And she really believed that they needed to be respected and loved for who they are, despite their circumstances. So, what's her mission? Children should be loved and respected just for who they are. So, how does she create value above and beyond her art? Well, she's very skilled at relating to children. And so she plays with them and she talks to them and she gets to know who they are as little humans. And then she reflects that in a children's portrait. So, who's her target market? Missing a slide here. Her who, or her niche, are mostly, and by the way, her business is all by referral. And so her niche is affluent mothers who actually were working as successful executives, decided to put their career on hold and stay home with their kids to raise them, and who are very deeply concerned about how their children's self concept is. So it align. You see how their values align with Kate's mission. It's not everybody. When Colleen started the program, she was struggling to take her art sales to the next level. She was doing pretty well, but she was struggling. So let's look at her why. So, as a person, not as an artist, she grew up with a lot of challenges that she had to overcome. She felt broken inside and discarded. She had a very serious stutter, but she went on to heal herself and to make herself a happy woman. And she actually got over that stutter, that broken speech pattern, and she was on TV as an announcer. And she basically rewrote her story. And so, what's her mission? That you can rewrite your story. You can feel discarded and broken, and you can still be happy and you can still rewrite your story. So, how does she create value above and beyond her art? She's a master at sourcing recycled material. Every single piece of art she makes comes from recycled material. The last time I spoke to her, she had a handmade card line, recycled, of course, in over 100 stores. So, who is her target market? It's mostly women who have felt they've gone through a lot of healing journey, felt very broken, discarded, and want to be happy. That's their value. Want to have fun. Want to rewrite their story. See this? All right, let's get Jenna on the line, and I'm going to actually have her do this. Why should I do it? All right, Jenna, can I get you to raise your hand? And see, where is she? Okay, so Jenna.
Hello.
Hi there. Okay, Jenna, could you just tell us, what is your why? What is your purpose?
You mean my why or my mission?
Well, let's just start with your mission, because essentially your mission is a product of your why. So Why don't you share your mission as you would normally share your mission?
Okay. Um, we don't know what to leave behind, and we don't know what to move forward with. We don't know how to move on, and we don't know how to be on our own. And we don't know what we like, we don't know what we want, and we don't know what fulfills our life. That's because we don't know how to follow our heart. And because of that, a lot of us do what other people think that we need to do.
Who here feels that? Anybody feel that? You get a little tingle? Why? Because Jenna knows her product. It's emotion. So that's Jenna's mission. It's really powerful and it's true. And it comes from her soul's truth. It comes from her most painful moments in life and her most joyful moments in life. So this is how she knows her mission. Her mission is not about her. Her mission is not about her art. Okay. So that's what I said earlier. All right. So, what then, how do you create value above and beyond your art?
Um, I make art, and I mean I'm really good at listening, and also at the same time I'm good at like seeing people as who they really are beyond their appearance, what they have, their reputation. It doesn't really come to
How do you
me.
do that? I know I have some ideas, but how do you think you do that? How do you have that superpower?
How do I have a superpower?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, It's, I mean, as Anne told me, it was from Anne discovered that Anne discovered that about me. I didn't even know. I just knew that that was my how, but um, I because it's first of all, it's not not my language. So the way I listen to people when I listen to people is I discovered that I turn off my English. I can turn on and off my English. Um, I turn it off my English hearing. It's kind of funny, but I just turn it off, and I hear their facial expression. I hear their emotions actually when they speak, and so I think that's why I have that power. Yeah.
So Jenna came here. She was thrust into this culture, just really learning English. And so she wanted to communicate with people. So she knew her English was limited. So another way, most communication is nonverbal. So she developed a super skill of really hearing the conversation that was going on. And so she's able to listen to her clients' heart desire and really like being listened to is incredibly valuable. If someone really hears you, it's incredibly valuable. So let's talk about your niche. So tell me, who wants to buy your art? Why do they want to buy it? And how and where do you find more people to buy your art?
Um, Usually like very high performing executives or entrepreneurs or founders of the companies. Uh, like those people buy my art. People who are under a lot of stress and who are in the leadership in the company, they usually resonate with my niche.
Right. Okay. So you know who wants to buy it. And so where do why do they want to buy your art?
Uh, this is a collective comments from my actual clients. What they say is it's just really deep and authentic. They say that, and also it's true, like very truthful. It's a truthful. So a lot of them told me that they usually keep my art in their private space. Like it's not just a decoration for them. It's a reminder and it is a souvenir of their own heart, so they can. So this one client, he's really nice to me, and he said that's the first thing I want to see when I wake up. So he put my painting right where he wakes up, he can, the wall that he can see when he wakes up, so he can see it and he feels it, and then he starts his day like that.
Are you guys starting to see how powerful it is to know your 4-part code and to know your niche? So Jenna knows who wants to buy her art. She knows why they want to buy it. So how and where do you find more of your collectors? And by the way, you guys can't copy this, all right? It doesn't work because it would not be authentic. Can't copy anyone's 4-part code. Remember what I said, imitation is suicide. So, all right, so how and where do you find more collectors?
How I find is actually, I learned it from making or making money. So not, in order to share that, I would have to share what I learned from there. But
Right,
uh,
so she's not going into it, but
yeah, I
yeah,
cannot share that because I invested in that, in learning it. So
right.
but I cannot reveal it. But definitely they, like the clients who already bought my art, they definitely helped me to find more people. And
Right, which is yeah.
I started with at the time I didn't have any friends or anything, so I started with very small group of people that I knew at the time. So it's not like I started with like thousands of people I know. I had like probably 50 people on my Instagram. So I started from there.
Okay, you guys seeing this? So if you think that you're limited, all of us started from a very limited place. Um, Dennis says, Jenna, thank you for your time today. Like you always have had times, and I relate to hard. I can't. Okay, I think you meant to say something else. Definitely on track here. Never thought of emotion as the way to connection to art. Think about it, Jane. If you're listening to a musician and you're not feeling anything from that performance, it's like, I'm not feeling anything. It's not my music, right? Or if you go to a movie and you like experience all these emotions, you're like, that was a great movie. I love that movie. So yes, art is emotion. All right, this is really powerful. I hope you guys see this, like how this theory is very real, how this theory generates sales, how this theory actually helps you be more of who you are, which is where your power lies. All right. Thank you very much, Jenna. I'm just going to wrap this up really quick. We went a bit over time, but I think it was really worth it hearing um, Jenna say it rather than me. She's better at it for sure. Um, okay. So Christy says, I've seen this in practice. People bought my art because of the connection that I know was emotional. Yes. So imagine, Christy, if you knew how to do it in a very deliberate, systematic way that was authentic. It's take it to the next level. All right. All right. Dennis says, oh, Dennis has a self-limiting belief. How would you connect with people who are going to enjoy it? Because people who've had hard times usually don't have a lot of money. You couldn't be further from the truth, Dennis. That is so untrue. I cannot even. Can I just tell you how many wealthy, successful people I know, and ask Jenna, who went through all sorts of shit in their life. And by overcoming it, they became stronger and more successful. You have got such a serious self-limiting belief, Dennis. Please do the self-limiting belief exercise. This is blatantly false. Blatantly false. So not true. So not true. Seems like people who bought my art like the way it looks, not sure about the feeling. Yeah, Dennis says, yeah, you're right. Good, Dennis. Truth will set you free. All right. But the great news, Dennis, is you can disassemble these beliefs. Okay, that's not a belief that's going to serve you. So let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of it. All right, I got to hurry up and share my screen. Where the heck did it go? Oh my God. Where did it go? Where did it go? Hold on a second, you guys. Hold on. Google. Isn't this remarkable, you guys? Isn't it fun to like have this, to crack the code? Why artists are successful and why they're struggling, now you know. You know now. So maybe it's not because there's something wrong with you, right? Maybe it's just because you just don't know what you don't know yet, but you can know. That's the thing. Nothing I teach is crazy hard. It's really not. It's so much harder to learn how to make art than it is to learn some of these really basic principles. All right, I got to page through here. Sorry, everybody. And find out where I left off before we stopped and had a chat with Jenna. So wasn't I think so type into the chat. Was that powerful to hear what Jenna had to say? Do you understand? Like, can you see how it's such so much easier for her than trying to go through those 50 things that don't freaking work? She doesn't have to do that. She really doesn't have to do any of that. All right. So let's get the glue that holds it all together. You got to admit that you don't know what you don't know. That's the first step. And then you got to do and you don't know the 4-part code and you don't know your niche. And if you did, you wouldn't be here because you'd be so busy selling your art. Right? You wouldn't need this. So just know it's something you do need to determine. So number one, you got to do you. You got to be your authentic self. Jenna's mission came from her authentic self. You got to know your product. You're not selling goods or services. Your product is emotion. You got to determine your niche. You're not going to do it in a workshop for 5 days, but know that this is something you're going to have to actually do. And if you want to stay in business, if you want to make a decent living as a fine artist, you absolutely must know this. And you have to admit and be humble enough to know that you don't know what you don't know, right? And you must know your niche. You cannot guess. And your niche is not about you. It's not about your art. It's not about your genre. It's not about your creative medium. Knowing your niche means that you can check 4 boxes. You know who wants to buy your art, why they want to buy it, where to find more people just like them, and how. And that's what Jenna knows. So if you can't check all 4 boxes yet, you're not alone. Just know this is something you'll have to determine if you want to stay in business. And it's a process of experimentation, which is what Jenna also explained. It's a process, just like learning how to make art is a process, determining your niche is a process. It's the ultimate objective of the Making Art, Making Money program. It's not something you're going to figure out in a 30-minute webinar. And you can't reverse engineer this all on your own. So if you don't make these 4 critical shifts, what's at stake for you? Type your answer into the chat. If you're not authentic, if you don't know your product, if you don't determine your niche, and if you don't admit that you don't know what you don't know, what's going to happen? All of it's possible, you guys. This is all possible. This is all doable, but you're going to need some help. You got to invest in a mentor who can help you. And that's it. And anyone who's committed to growth should invest in a mentor. Do I know a mentor other than myself who's doing this? No, I don't. Not with any real experience, guarantee, or case studies. But hiring a mentor is a really smart investment for your company, no matter who you are, no matter what field you're in. It can free up a lot of valuable time because instead of focusing on those 50 things, you can focus on the one thing that will work, right? And you focus on the critical aspects of your fine art business, such as connecting authentically with collectors who know, love, and appreciate you and creating. That's what you should be focused on. And an experienced mentor is key to taking your business to the next level. I have mentors, I always will. And just like an athlete always has a coach, they don't win the race if they don't have a coach, they don't coach themselves. It doesn't work. So without an experienced mentor, you're putting your whole fine art future at risk because you're going to make costly mistakes and you're going to miss out on real opportunities to sell art. And no one succeeds alone. You got to find the right mentor for the right objective. And you can't try to figure this out. If you could figure this out by yourself, you would have done it by now. Don't you think? Type into the chat. So when Cynthia joined, she said, I was always trying to sell my work, like just buy it. And she felt really cringy. And then she said, I've sold more art this year after joining the Making Art, Making Money School of Business than I've sold in over many years. When Nadine joined, before she joined, she said, I was basically throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, trying to see what would work because I didn't know. I was scattering my energy all over the place by showing up at these art fairs. She joined the program and she said, I really feel like my mission is the reason I'm alive. That's how deep, authentic, and true your mission is. And we help you determine that. And it takes a minute, it takes a minimum of 28 days. When Marie joined the program, she said, I remember the days of selling something for $1,000 and saying zippity doo dah. Then she joined the program. I warned her she needed to stop discounting her art. And she stopped and she said, I just sold my last painting for $25,000 and I'm not offering discounts anymore. $1,000 average sale to $25,000 in less than 12 months. So if you identify with any of these case studies, type into the chat. Tell me which ones and why. Now, my promise to you today was to show you the 4 proven steps or elements that successful fine artists use to determine their niche. Did I keep my promise? Did I show you those 4 steps? Type your answer into this chat. Let me know. Did I keep my promise? So what do you need to start making a better living as a fine artist? Again, you got to do you got to be yourself. You got to know your product. You got to determine your niche. You got to admit what you don't know. And you got to invest in your business. There's no business that's going to thrive if you don't invest in it. It's different from an expense, right? As a matter of fact, the Making Art, Making Money program is a tax deductible expense. Now, everyone's tax circumstances are different, so you need to check with your tax advisor, but it's a tax deduction. So now you have a choice. So how can we help? So my program is specifically tailored to meet the needs of very serious fine artists who are looking to take their success to the next level. And my approach is best suited for those who are truly committed to their art and being an artist, and who are looking for an experienced mentor to help them achieve their goals. No, if you're looking for a cheap and a quick solution to an expensive problem, which is what you have if you don't know your niche, it doesn't exist. Many people ask me, why am I doing this? Because I refuse to tolerate the grave injustice that I experienced when I can solve it. And I get to see Travis and Jenna and many of my students just transform not just their art sales, but themselves. They are different people. They're actually just more of who they already were. So my mission is to help other fine artists just like you take your power back from the scarcity and permission-based art establishment. And I'm accomplishing it. And I'm helping fine artists to sell more art, make more money, and do it with more dignity. And I'm damn proud of it. Today was a long one, you guys. I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope that you understand that it's really, how do you define fine artists? It's all made up, Dennis. It's all made up. Here's how I do it. A fine artist is someone who's paid for expressing their vision. A commercial artist who's no less talented is paid for expressing someone else's vision. I've been helping other fine artists since 2005. And Jenna can also tell like who this is going to help and who it's not going to help. I'll tell you what, someone's attitude is the best indicator of whether or not they're going to succeed. All right. So tomorrow is an incredibly important day. Tomorrow, I'm going to teach you exactly where I started to become a full-time artist, exactly where I started to generate over $100,000 in art sales. It's a super simple formula, but you got to get it right or it won't work. If you do it right, it's amazing. Changed my life. So make sure you show up and make sure you do the homework. And thank you again for all your time, your attention, and for your great questions. See you tomorrow.